Hello everyone and welcome to Lid Bashing for a slightly later than usual unboxing of the new Astartes kits. We had the reveals over the weekend, which took up a lot of video time, and I didn't want to bombard you with fluff pieces, so I thought I'd leave it a couple of days just to cool down. But now we are going to do an unboxing of these, and I'm also going to do a quick build of just a couple of models in the fast attack box, because I've managed to chase down some 1mm thick clear perspex rods, and we're going to see how easy it is to make these from the little black flying stands into more traditional Games Workshop clear plastic flying stands. So let's see how easy that is to do. So let's start with the slightly less controversial than last time because they're a bigger model, the Dreadnought drop pods. Usual art we're expecting on the back. Certainly with this release, we're still looking at the Death Guard and we're looking at the Iron Hands, which seems to be the basis for the first wave. The second wave looks like it's moving towards the Imperial Fists for Loyalists and the Iron Warriors for Traitors, which makes sense because we now know the next expansion is going to be set at Talon, which was one of their big combats together. So let's see where we're at. As you can see in this box, just like the last drop pods, with the previous drop pods, you had the infantry drop pod and the Deathstorm drop pod. This time round, we've got the Dreadnought drop pod and the Palisade drop pod. Palisade drop pods seem like a really good idea for your general drop pod units. They give you automatic saves if you're close enough to them, which is very nice. Downside of them, and you can't take them as an upgrade to dedicated transport detachments, which means if you take a drop pod detachment, then you won't be able to take them, which has been suggested to me by some competitive players that this might be a balancing thing, that, you know, if you're going to take so many drop pods and be able to take them as dedicated transports, you don't get to give them all automatic saves, which does make sense, even if that is a shame and does mean you can't use the Palisades in the drop pod dedicated detachment. So you've got the same Legion vehicle transfer sheet that you've often had. I know they've probably thought about this in terms of the colours, and it sort of makes sense for Death Guard, but a lot of these I wish that there were both colours as options, like the World Eaters have. It'd be nice to have that for some of the others. If nothing else, for those who want to use these as a kind of stenciled freehand over, if you've got it on black, then that gives you a kind of nice outline, and then you just have to very carefully colour in the lines, which is something that's quite fun to do. If you're practicing freehand, or if you just want a slightly different coloured Legion marking, you know, they're very detailed. And if you compare these transfers to the transfers you used to get, you know, back in the kind of turn of millennium Space Marine kits, these are a lot nicer. So you can already see how much bigger these guys are. So I'm not going to be able to put those on a 25mm base probably. I have to source some 32s for them, because I like basing my drop pods. Obviously you don't have to, that's basically a base itself, but I just like having my base, having my army consistently based. But again, like the old kit, it's very nice, very detailed, even to the point of the little mesh seating areas. Did Dreadnought sit down? Discuss. Much taller as well. In terms of plastic for your money, it looks like you get a lot more. There's a lot less of the space is taken up by sprue. Still only get 4 models, but I don't know, they just seem a little bit less egregiously overpriced. I still think, you know, most games I've played with these, yes, you can, with a little bit of convincing, open these guys up even when they're painted. The thing is, the additional friction that's added by paint on a 28mm model is one thing, but you know, I don't know what the physics is in terms of what equation multiplies that up by how small it is, but a lot more space between the joints comparatively is now covered by paint. Even if you paint it separately, you can't, you know, I put these in there before I sprayed it and still it's got that slight creakiness that it didn't have, but at least it stays upright now. But most games, most people I've seen just kind of plonk them down and don't even bother trying to undo them. So I think it would have been nice for them just to do like a kind of budget Dreadnought box. Like these are great and they should offer these, absolutely. But imagine also having a budget Dreadnought box which just has maybe 2 or 3 pieces per Dreadnought. Boom, boom, boom. They go like that. You're done. They're on the table. I think that would be, you could fit loads per box. We fit 4 per sprue. Maybe even more. We could do it like rhinos and have 10 in the box. So yeah, I do think as nice as these are from a modeling perspective, from a gaming perspective, and in order to dissuade 3D printing, offering one-piece rhinos, offering one-piece drop pods would be an idea. But, you know, maybe that'll come in the future. In the meantime, we do have these now nice, big, chunky Dreadnought drop pods to go along as well. Let's check the instructions. I've had a couple of misprints in the instructions recently, presumably from older builds of the models, like the Land Raider Proteus instructions having the extra pushy and bolt bit that the Spartans have as a separate bit, whereas they ended up not having. Here we are. It looks like it'll be slightly easier than the other one to magnetize because you've only got these 3 contact points to worry about. So you haven't got the kind of 5 things around. So if you just have those as a separate contact point, then I reckon, yeah, pop that. That bit wouldn't even need to be magnetized. That can just pop in, stick the bit over the top. Boom, there's your palisade. So yeah, I think this will be much easier to magnetize if you're of a magnetizing point of view. But to be honest, with this game, I think you're going to have lots and lots of models. So as expensive as they are, I don't think it's unreasonable to expect most people will have enough of these that they could build some as one and some as the other as they want them. It does look like you have enough to build them all as palisades if you want, which again is more space saved. If they ever wanted to do a just kind of budget Dreadnought box, you wouldn't need to add all the Palisade and Deathstorm stuff, so you could just fill an entire sprue with essentially these. And you could fit loads on there. So, you know, that's an idea. I'd do that if I were you, Games Workshop. That might make people feel happier. But, you know, these articulated kits are pretty fun. For the next box is a box that is inarguably significantly less exciting from a competitive standpoint, but from a modeling standpoint and fluff standpoint, very, very cool. I'm very excited to start having lots of World Eaters Outriders in my main demi company and World Eaters Flyers in all my others. I'm going to make like a Sky Hunter Phalanx with all the others. Something I'm going to be looking at, as I said at the beginning of the video, specifically with this one, I'm going to see how feasible it is to turn these into transparent flying stands. And also I want to see how feasible it is to swap these weapons over. Because looking at the rules, it seems like these guys, the plasma cannon bolter versions are a bit better than the flamer melter versions. I think with how quick these move, you're going to want to be close, you're going to want to be shooting, and you're going to want to be point fencing, which this lacks a little bit. We've got plenty of multi-melters available in boxes, so doing backwards should be pretty easy because you've got flamer noses from the Solar Auxilia kit, and you've also got melter noses from the various pencil weapons. We haven't got any of these little plasma tips. At the moment, the best thing I can think of for plasma tips is to use plasma bits from the Sicaran kit, which seems they might be too big, but I will have a look. I'll do a comparison because a few people have asked in the comments about that. So just in case, you know, we'll give it a go. This one, because of the sheer number of models in the box, we haven't even got an alternate color scheme. We've just got the Death Guard on the back here. Interesting that they're calling it Legion Fast Attack when, you know, Vanguard is actually the detachment they all use. Fast Attack doesn't exist in Legions Imperialis. It's also interesting, I don't know if anyone else has noticed this, but why are Assault Marines the only ones that are called Assault Marines, not Assault Legionnaires or Legionaries? You've got Tactical Legionaries, you've got Support Legionaries, and Assault Marines. Just seems interesting. So, this box. In here, we do not have any transfers, which is interesting because I think these, yeah, looking at them, I think there are spaces where they might want transfers. I think you probably could fit a transfer on the tip there, but they've opted not to give those. Oh well, I'm sure if people have enough of them from the others. Lots of spare las cannon sponsons if anyone's running out. So looking at this already, thinking about the flyers, it looks like these ones come with the javelins. Yep, there's the holes. They've already got a hole made, so that'll be a nice guide to use for our plastic rods. These ones have a rod already inside, so that'll need to be trimmed off and drilled. And these ones also already have a rod on the inside, so that'll need to be trimmed off and drilled. So we'll have a go at that in a minute. I wonder if we have enough bodies. Are they interchangeable? They all look interchangeable. I wonder what it recommends. Ooh, before I go anywhere else, we'll have a look and see how many of these 32mm bases we get. I've been looking forward to 32mm bases, and I know there's no chance that they'll offer these separately because they haven't offered the 25mm yet, and I expect that's to stop people, or at least dissuade people from doubling up or halving, depending on how you look at it, the number of Marines they use on bases. I mean, they're just as good. I mean, the base game they've got going on is great. So that's a good amount. I wonder if that will fit the Dreadnought drop pod. That looks perfect for the Dreadnought drop pod. Oh, ideal. Yeah, so I'm going to have to source some of these somewhere. That's exactly the same size, basically, in comparison to that one. Yeah, these also might be good for smaller tank bases. Oh, the challenges of having to base everything. Oh well. So what we're going to do is quickly look at the instructions, see if there's a suggested idea as to which body to put in which. Those bodies are already there. So it reckons put 8, 9, and 10 into these guys, and put 3, 4, and 5 into these guys. And yeah, that looks like that is intended to the point that the hands are right. So these have got the smaller handlebars, these have got the bigger handlebars with the guards. So I think I will, for the sake of this video, I'll build them like this, but it is interesting to note it looks like there is some option for swapping back and forth. They've all got similar backs. Might have to play with the backpacks because, as is tradition, the big vehicles don't have backpacks, whereas these ones do. But that means you could use the Mark II Marines from the tank kits in these. No, just to mix things up a bit, or if your army suits itself better to Mark II or 3. Those bikes are really cool and detailed. It's a shame they're not good in game, really. I mean, they're okay, they're just outclassed by the speeders in every way. So it's kind of like, why would you use them other than not having enough parts? It's a nice packed sprue. I wish these were separate. That seems a waste of sprue space. I don't know. Right, well, let's give them a go. Building one. Put this spare bit out of the way. I'm going to build one of each of the floaty types. So that'll be one of the land speeders. Let's say you get 12 in a box. That's loads. Cool. Yeah, fun. That's 6 bases of land raiders in a box. Not land raiders, land speeders. Not land speeders. Why do I keep saying things? Jet bikes in a box. Fun. Let's build as intended in the instructions because that is what makes God happy. So let's start with the javelins. That's what it recommends. I might fast forward through some of this just so we've got a nice built one at the end because it's not very interesting watching someone build something as per instructions. If you do want to watch me build things as per the instructions, okay. Variety is the spice of life, you do you. If that's something you'd like to see me do, by all means let me know in the comments, but I expect people will be like, no, turn them into walruses and turtles and other things they're not supposed to be. So I'll see you once I've got one of each of the flyer types, and then we'll try giving them transparent bases. Right, so they're built. They didn't take me very long, but I did accidentally throw the weapons on the floor about 12 times. So, be careful of that. Even with a tray, doesn't stop you accidentally flicking a microphone wire around and knocking everything off onto the floor. So, these are our completed models. I think of them, though I haven't built an Outrider yet because they don't fly, but of the models so far, I think the jet bike's my favourite. The jet bikes, as well as just being three pieces, rider, wings, main body, so easy to put together, very few mold lines and little nubs because of where they put the joins to the sprue. These just went together excellently, and yeah, excellent, lovely models. No notes. The javelin as well. This is a really nice model, and it's a little bit of visible undercut here, just under the shoulder. But I think if you, with a bit of shading, you won't need to do anything about that. Just keep that darker and shaded, and the rest is all really nice. My least favorite of the three is the Proteus Land Speeder, and it's because it's got a huge undercut here. Now, I don't mind undercuts. It says something that in all the art I've seen, I haven't even noticed them. Like they're just here painted of the same color as the marine, and you can't really tell. So I'm sure when it's painted like all the undercuts, you won't tell, and it's worth it for the detail you otherwise get on the Mini. But when you are building it, it is the only noticeable bit. I did have a quick look at this bit while I'm here, and it is a really weird shaped plasma gun at the bottom compared to the other pieces we have. We haven't got anything a bit like it. Once we get sponson plasmas, maybe they'd be swappable over. As it stands, the best thing I can suggest using is, like I predicted, a Sakaran plasma, which I might have a spare one in here, in my little box of extra bits. Yeah, so we've got a Sakaran plasma here. I reckon for the sake of WYSIWYG, cutting just the tip off that, it's like the size is fine, the scale is a bit off, but if you cut just the tip off that and plopped it on, people would know what it was, and I don't think anyone would complain. But to be honest, I don't think anyone's going to complain anyway. If you just want to say, by the way, all of these have the plasma loadout, everyone will be fine with that. So, although it seems a bit antithetical to this channel, I'd say probably not bother, unless you're really fussed about WYSIWYG, in which case maybe see if you can swap with someone, or make two teams, one with one and one with the other. It's not that the tank hunter loadout is bad, it's just we have lots of tank hunter loadout things, lots of anti-tank, and the plasma is quite a nice fast fast anti-infantry option, and it does still have some anti-tank on it, just not as much as the melter version. I think that's the other issue, is this is kind of consistently anti-infantry, whereas the other one you have a flamer for infantry and melter for tanks, and it's just a bit of a mixed bag. If you could mix these around, maybe then that'd be an option. But as it is, this is just about the better loadout, but the other one isn't bad. And plus, variety is the spice of life, and this is very much a narrative game rather than a competitive game. So we're going to have a look and see how easy it is to turn these into actual flying skimmy models. And for this, I've got 1mm drill bits and 1mm perspex rod. I just went for whichever version on eBay had the cheapest postage. It itself is really cheap. You just need to make sure you got postage for wherever you are that's cheap. I think it is a little bit thinner than the rod that comes with it, but I think that's okay. And it gives us a bit of leeway and also means it's less visible. So the easiest one is going to be this one because it's already got a hole. These ones, we're going to have to make an artificial hole. Just some land speeder affirming surgery going on. Click that off. Click these off. And click these off. So now, if it doesn't work, I am stumped. But I think it'll work. I think it'll work. So I'm going to neaten up this connection point. Get it as flat as possible. This would be even easier if you didn't have to hold it under the camera. So hopefully that's something you won't have to worry about. And then I'm going to make just a little pilot hole to get it as centered as possible. Give something for my drill to get purchase into. Let's do the same with this one. Slipped a bit there, but that's easily fixable. And as well, snake clean there. Now, for the sake of this video, I am going to do these just kind of standing quite vertical, but depending on which direction you drill in, you can have some nice slidey different versions of them rearing up. I know people have already started making their bikes with wheelies, which is obviously the way to go. Trim. And then, again, a little pilot just to give some purchase. There we go. Lovely. Right, so 1mm drill, 1mm rod. Don't know how high I'm going to make these. I might make them the same height as the regular one, just for this video. But you could experiment. You can mix and match. Have them tall, have them short. This also isn't the only way to do this. Another way you could do it, which I probably would recommend, is building rocks or trees or billowing dust. The kind of things that people do with 28mm models. I am going to drill quite deep into this because the thinner a rod is, the more brittle it is. So if we can give it a nice solid base to rest in, that's good. It also means hopefully, okay, drilled all the way through, that's fun. I think that's probably the right move. And then friction will hopefully hold it in place. I've deliberately gone for the same width drill bit as rod, hoping for that friction. I might just have to open up the entrance a little bit, said the actress to the bishop, just so I can actually get it in. There we go. That's probably enough now. There we go, it's a nice click. There we go, that's solid. That's not going anywhere, but I reckon I can still take it off for painting, which is the main thing. Now these guys have a 25mm base. I've opted for these sculpts of bases because the other ones have, one of them has a cross line right in the middle, which I think would be a bit on the nose, and the other one has one of these rivets right in the middle and a hole directly into a rivet. I think kind of where what we're trying to do is make this kind of subtle. A drill through the rivet isn't the best idea. Now, when I build these, I'm going to probably put that hole in a different base on each one, just for variety. For this one, I'm going to make it just a little bit off center. There we go. Remember to be careful about which way your finger is. I remembered at the last minute there, not to drill directly into my finger. Everyone, I'm very, very skimmery. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to push him through first. Probably that's about as high as I want it. Just a little bit higher than the regular version. Again, you can play with the angle a bit if you want them skimming or spinning. There we go. And then once you're happy with the height, that compares to the height of the real bit. So it's a little bit higher than the normal bit. So if you wanted it to have exactly the same height for eye lines and stuff, you're looking at probably about there. Yeah. So, and there we go. There's our Land Raider Proteus. I think looking better already. The bikes. So let's see if I can get into the pilot. Again, I'm not being too crazy with angles here. I'm just trying to get nice straight lines. And we can remember the same as the last one. I'm going to blur that entrance just a little bit to give me somewhere to funnel the rod into. I'm not going to bother putting a little slantish face going hee 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 at all the rod jokes, but no, I'm thinking it. Rod in there, and then we have a nice floaty jet bike. Probably should put those the other way around, considering the chainsaw sticking out. Oh well. Again, you can play with the angles of this. You can have them out in, wiggle them around, depending on how jinky you want them to be. So with this guy, we've got the pilot hole, but we do need to be careful about how hard we go through because we haven't got that leeway of being able to go all the way through the model. So let's go just a little bit in. Pop, yes. Good job. And then we can put this into here. I'm going to use this line as a sort of pilot just to get us there. Lovely. Into there. Yeah, this one, as expected, the easiest one. Twist him around so he's facing that way, I think. And again, when it comes to gluing these in place, I'll glue them into the ideal angle. For the time being, those are 3. Pretty easy. This whole video, I mean, I will trim it for the sake of YouTube. I'm not that desperate for ad money that I'm going to make this last 20 minutes, but from the time I started this cut, it says 20 minutes. So I'll go through afterwards and put up on the screen how long this whole process of putting these 3 bases together was. That's very doable. And I think worth doing. Something else I want to try to do, which Storm of Chogris, the guy who also placed in the painting competition at Warhammer World, he used these little rods and he recommended them to me. And he used them for his assault marines to give them a bit of variety in the base. So I'm definitely going to go back and make some of my assault marines fly with these as well. But it's definitely worth doing for your land speeders and definitely worth doing for your jet bikes. So yeah, that's very possible. Cool, well, thank you for watching. Those are the new kits and just some of the things you can do with them. I'll get those painted up to be part of my World Eaters, and I'll see you next time on Lip Bashing. So thank you to all of you for watching. Thank you to my patrons, as always, who continue to be amazing. And remember, peace and love, and keep on Lip Bashing.